Welcome back. In this video, the first goal is to run the React project, and the second goal is to understand the React project structure. We can actually take care of goal 1 right away. In the command line, fire npm run start in the portfolio directory. That's npm run start. All right. This is going to open up the project at localhost 3000. And look at that, you'll have a React application running right on your browser. Now, how does this all work? Let's take a look at the key files in the project that are making this happen. First, within your code editor, head to public/index.html. This is the core index.html document of the web app. The browser receives this document and then uses it to display the content on the page. Now, if you haven't worked with HTML before, or as a refresher, HTML is a tag-based language where pairs of tags like the head and the body section and divs create the actual structure of the web page. So notice that there's this head and body section. Apparently the creators of HTML felt that a medical metaphor was the perfect analogy to structure the web page. But seriously though, it's actually a useful way to have things named because all the structure of the actual document goes in the body. And then things that aren't necessarily there for the structure, but important tags like links and meta information go in the head. All right, head back to the application in the browser and then open up the developer console. You can open up the developer console by doing a special click and then selecting inspect. And immediately you're going to find yourself in the elements section. Now, if you look around, you'll find that the elements section is essentially a collapsible version of the HTML file we just looked at. So there's the head and the body. But if you go to the body section, you're going to find that there's a lot more content in here than what we saw in the original HTML document within the actual project. Mainly, if you look at the div with the ID of root, it has all of these inner divs with a div class of app. The class of app has this whole header section with some paragraphs, an image as well. And that whole class of app section is controlling what we're seeing in the actual document. If you scroll down to the bottom of the body section, you'll even find that there's these script tags which point to JavaScript files. Now head back to the main HTML document, and if you look at the bottom of the HTML file itself, you're going to find that none of that content is here within the body section. So how did those divs end up within the root? And then how did those script tags end up within the body at the end? So the first question can actually be answered by looking at the source index.js file. In here, there's quite a bit going on. First, there's two libraries imported, React and React DOM. The first React import sets up the file to write React code by importing global values and methods that are defined within the React library. And then the React DOM library takes care of actual application rendering, meaning displaying the application on the browser itself. Now there's also this service worker bit, which is kind of distracting at this point because it's really something that becomes useful once you have the application in other people's hands in production. Basically, it allows for offline usage of your application in case one of your users temporarily loses internet connection. But there's one line I want you to really pay attention to, and that's the React DOM.render line. React DOM.render is a function which takes care of inserting React code into the HTML. Now, I'll say that again because the true importance of that statement can't be stressed enough for React applications. React DOM.render is a function which takes your React code and then inserts it into the HTML. So there it is. That's the answer of how the root div got all of its inner divs. After all, notice that this React DOM render line targets the element with the ID of root. And then it's going to insert this app over here. Now, you might find it a bit fishy that this app part kind of looks like HTML with the tag arrow-like syntax, despite the fact that we're in a JavaScript file. But this is actually still JavaScript syntax. It's called JSX, and it's supported within React applications. We're going to have a whole video to look at that in more detail next. All right, let's take a look at the app.js code. And what you'll find is that, well, we have an entire app component, and there's a lot more JSX in this app.js file. But you'll find that its structure matches the divs that we saw within the root div in the elements section on the browser. There's that header in the paragraph, the anchor tag, and the image. Cool. So that's the complete answer. React DOM render inserts this components.jsx as HTML elements within the root div in the HTML document. Now, components in React are pieces of the web application that can be reused. They create UI, have dynamic functionality, etc. And they act like Lego bricks. If you put them together, you end up making a whole Lego house, which is the React application. So a React app is really a combination of a bunch of React components. All right, cool. Now, one really nice thing about using Create React App is that it comes in with a neat live development server. So you can check this out by making a change to the app component. Let's take out everything within the div, and instead let's have it output hello React. So if you make that change and then save the file, and then head back to the browser, what you're going to find is that, well, it automatically reloaded those changes. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a bit, and there's our new output of hello React for the app component. And now the div with the ID of root still has the div with the class of app, but its output is now hello React. Nice. So that was our first bit of actual React code that we wrote ourselves. In the next video, we're going to write a lot more React code. But first, let's do a quick exploration of the rest of the React project structure so that way you know why each of these files and directories were included. So back in the code editor, I'm going to start from the top and go down. First, there's this node modules directory, which is where all the libraries of JavaScript code for the project get installed. In JS, we use modules as the terminology for packages and libraries. Now, it can be kind of overwhelming when you open it up because of the sheer amount of code contained within. Luckily though, you're not on the hook for knowing the code for every single one of these modules. After node modules, there's the public directory, and we already looked at the index.html file. But then there's also the browser icon, the faveicon.ico file, and then the manifest.json file, which is for more meta information about the project. And next, we have the source directory, which houses all of the React code, so app.js, as well as styling with the index.css and app.css files. There's this getignore file, which lists files that are unnecessary to include when storing this project in an online repository. And then a really important one is the main package.json file. This file is the key to any JavaScript project. And the two main parts to look at are the dependencies and the script section. The dependencies specify what should go into the node modules library. Now, even though there's only 3 dependencies listed here, the node modules directory will actually contain a lot more folders and modules because these modules here require their own dependencies to work. And all of those sub-dependencies end up in the node modules directory as well. The script section over here tells us what commands we can run to fire up the project. In this case, we have one to start up the project, which we already did. The build script builds a production version of the project. The test script runs some tests. And finally, for create React app, there's this one-time eject function, and it essentially blows up the project into a more detailed and customizable version in case you want to dig deeper into the React app project. Finally, there's this README file, which provides directions for working with the project. Okay, so that covers the structure of the React project. You also know how the root div got its nested elements based off the React DOM.render line in the index.js file. But beyond that, there's still the looming question of how the index.html got those script tags to run the JavaScript. This touches on the subject of building and bundling, which is a huge topic that we're going to spend a lot of time on later. Essentially, when you run the React project, the building and bundling process will package all of your JavaScript files into single compiled JavaScript code that your HTML can now refer to. So Create React App takes care of this for us. It's convenient, but because of that, you'd be surprised how many React coders don't have a complete accurate understanding of the concept. But not you. You're going to learn how to do that yourself from scratch in the next section of this course in terms of building and bundling. Overall, it's a deeper subject though, and before you get to that, I think you'll benefit more immediately by writing quite a bit of React code and gaining some React experience first. So next up, let's look at React Elements, JSX, and the React DOM. If you enjoyed this content, head to davidtkatz.com. There, you'll find links to full courses, as well as to reach out and connect with me. For React and Redux in particular, you'll want to check out udemy.com/React Redux Bootcamp. This is a course I made to help you learn React and Redux the right way, and to turn you into React and Redux developer. Okay, see you in the next one.